Hi, this is Dr. Chandra Smallwood, and welcome to the Fear Fighter podcast. Today we're going to talk about anxiety and best friends. This topic is important to me today because I've had a hard, it feels like 2 years now. I don't know what kind of season this is and why it's lasting so long, but it's for the birds, and I'm ready for it to end. But one of the parts of this season is losing the person that I called my best friend. So just a little backstory on me and best friends. I don't believe in them. Um, I had one in I had one when I was really young, like a girl who played in the neighborhood with. Um, she was a little strange. She ended up moving away, and we never talked again. Really, I've seen her. I've seen her a couple of times, like afterwards, after elementary school, but I didn't really ever see her again. And then I saw her on the internet, but now she just disappeared. I looked for her, but I can't find her. Maybe she got married, changed her name. I have no idea. But we used to have a lot of slumber parties. We used to play. She was super girly. I really wasn't. I was kind of tomboyish. Um, but we kind of got along great. I remember one day we were in a bed in her grandparents' room because her grandparents lived down the street from my parents. And she was telling me how her grandmother told her to not wear underwear to let her vagina breathe. I'm like 8, I don't know. I'm young, so this isn't very new to me. I don't think me and my mom had ever talked about vaginas breathing at all. I thought that was very interesting. Um, I think she was just very pampered because she did some weird things. Weird things. Anyway, fast forward to around third grade, I there was a girl who we became best friends. And we used to dress alike and hang out all the time. I would spend the night there all the time. And I remember one day, just to be totally honest, on her dresser, she wrote that a guy and another girl were her best friend. And she wrote it on her dresser. And after that, it broke my heart. Like, to me, everything had ended. I don't think I ever talked to her about it. I don't think at that time in my life I could verbalize how I was feeling or even knew what I was really feeling. But I knew that on my side, that meant the friendship was over. Because to me, she was my very, very one and only best friend. And I believed at that point, you only have one. She didn't believe that. So, that's how it was for me. Fast forward to high school, she got in this big fight with some girls, got jumped, had to leave. And it was very conflicting to me at that time because she had said some things about a girl to a group of us, as well as some guys. And one of the guys told the girl, and the girl was like, from the other side of the tracks. I'll just say that. And basically got her cousins together to fight her. We're in high school, but it was Broward, California. Things were a little rough around there, but it didn't last very long. But I was very conflicted. Like, should I have jumped in? Should I have not? I don't fight people or whatever. And I really didn't talk about people at the time. And the girls that she got in a fight with, I didn't really know them. So anyway, I felt like the fight lasted 5 minutes, like, honestly. It was, of course, when things happen like that, they move in slow motion for you, but it didn't last that long because they had crazy security guards at that school and they were on it quick. Um, so after that, our friendship really was never the same. It was never the same to me after that dresser incident in the third grade. Like, we would still hang out, but my heart was broken already. It was done. Um, So she left, went to another school. Fast forward years later, her dad died. And, it really wasn't, it's not like it wasn't a big deal to me, but I never had a conversation with her dad or anything like that. Like, I didn't see him as someone, he wasn't concerning to me because I didn't grow up knowing him. Like, I would see him around the house after he got off work or, whatever, but he didn't ever take us anywhere or hang out with us or do anything with us or talk to me when I was there as a little girl. So I didn't really think anything of it except, this girl that I know lost her dad and that's sad. But she was upset at me that I didn't talk to her mom or didn't call her mom, and I kind of felt the same way about her mom. Like, we had hung out a few times with her mom, but I just didn't ever form like a real relationship with her enough to call her. But I'm just kind of like that. I don't really form strong relationships with people's parents. Like, I don't think any of my friends growing up parents I had a really strong relationship with, to where to this day I would just call them. Like, no one. I was barely close, super close with my parents, just my mom, not my dad. So for me, when she got mad at me, I could understand. But then again, I was like, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't want to be insensitive and say, well, I didn't really ever think of your parents that way. But that was really the truth. So me and her still kind of talk, but, of course, we're not really that close because that whole dresser incident just killed that for me. And that's just kind of the way I was. Maybe it's just the way I am now. I don't know. Fast forward to college. I met a girl my first year in college in economics class. She was sitting in the front row. I was sat like in the row after her, and I asked her one day if she wanted to study. We became really close, and we lived together on many occasions. We traveled together. We talked about everything, guys, everything together, all sorts of things for like 25 years. Like a long time. Wait, 23 years? 23 years. So, she moved away. I would go see her. One day I went to see her for her birthday, and I surprised her, which could have went badly, but it didn't, because I flew across the country to show up at her door, and she had no clue. She used to do very nice things for her friends, or I mean, she probably still does. Like, once she rented a limo, and we all went to Palm Springs, where we stayed in this beautiful house, had a cook, and it was just a really nice time. I really cared for her a lot. To me, she was my best friend. But, she moved to Atlanta. I lived in LA. So I had a phone call. So we met at USC in accounting class and became, pretty much inseparable for 23 years. I mean, there were definitely times when our communication slowed down, but not for a long period of time. So last year, at the beginning of the year, I had a lot of changes just happening in life. I had a baby. Well, I didn't have a baby last year, but I had a baby 2 years prior to that. And I had just decided that for my mental health, it was best if me and the dad broke up. So we were living together at the time. I had bought a new house. Well, not a new house. I had bought an older house, the one I'm in now, that had to be renovated. I was moving. I was renovating the house. I was, becoming a 50-50 parent at that time. Just a lot was happening. I got a new job. So I, it's a lot. Like when you break up with someone who you're with for years. We were together for 5 years. We had a baby. It was just a lot of mental health stuff that was happening for me at the moment. So I kind of backed up from our friendship because, to be honest, she's kind of a judgmental person. But it was fine with me. Like, I didn't mind that she was judgmental. It was just too much for me at that time. But I loved her for who she was regardless. It didn't matter to me. It's just that, you know, you just, if someone's judgmental, you just take some things with a grain of salt, put it that way. Um, so it was about a year maybe that I kind of backed off, and I was starting to kind of feel, maybe not a year. Yeah. I remember it was her birthday and she called me. Like, she would hit me up sometimes, like she would reach out at times, but I wasn't really super receptive because I just wasn't really in the mind frame to do it. And we didn't really ever have a conversation about it. Um, I was doing my own personal thing, so I didn't really think about how she was feeling, and she didn't say anything like she was bothered or anything like that. She didn't act different. So I didn't think anything of it. So August of last year, I went to Atlanta and I asked her if I could stay at her place because I was going to a conference, but she was gone, actually in another country for her birthday. And I had a big solo trip planned the next month, so I didn't want to go to multiple countries like that in a row with work. My job was kind of new still and everything. But I did want to go. I was going to Invest Fest in Atlanta, so I stayed at her place. And I mean, I thought everything was fine until a couple months later. I She sent me a text message and I was at work. I remember I was in a work meeting and I was trying to stay awake. Um, and she sent me this message and she was asking me about her ex-boyfriend. And I had shared one of his posts in my Instagram stories. I mean, it was just a motivational post, nothing crazy. At that morning that I shared it, it had spoke to me. It was a good post. Let me share it with other people so they can see it. So 3 days after I posted it, she, hits me up and she's like, "How often do you guys talk?" And I'm like, "Never." Like, never. We never talk. We had the only reason why we had even each other's, I think I have his phone number, I'm not sure. The only reason why we had our contact information was when I was staying in Atlanta. I needed to get the key, and he was going to give me the key. I ended up getting it from one of her other friends, a female friend, the night I landed and got in. I rented a car, and I went to her place. But he was going to meet me to pick it up at the end. So I remember the last day before I flew out, I went to Whole Foods to get something to eat. And I was talking to him, and he was telling me, "Okay, I can come by and get the key," but I wasn't leaving until later. Like, my flight was like 8 p.m., but he had to come by like 1 because he had something to do or whatever. I was like, fine. So he came by. I was coming back from Whole Foods. He parked somewhere on the first level, and then he got in the car with me. And so, because she lived on the 6th floor, and it was like a matching parking lot, like a spiral parking lot where you would go, structure, where you would go up to the 6th floor and you'd enter her level through the parking structure. So I picked him up from the bottom, from in front of the lobby, and he just rode with me up the structure. He helped me carry like the bags I had, and yeah, basically I gave him the key, and that was it. I left no, before I left the apartment, or maybe it was after, I don't know. Sometime he sent me a text and he asked me if I had seen his wallet. And I was like, I don't remember seeing it in the apartment. But the door of the apartment could not be locked because the way it worked, you had to have the key to lock it. So when I left it open. But she knew it was open because I told her, obviously I can't lock it, but she already knew that. So, yeah, so I told him I didn't see his wallet. I guess he went back. He didn't see it. He ends up hitting me back up, asked me for the rental car information. I give it to him. Ends up it's in the rental car. I guess it fell like on the side of the passenger seat by the door. Okay, that was it. I didn't think anything of it. So, yeah, fast forward to me sharing his post. The story about the rental car happened when I was in Atlanta. I shared his post maybe a couple months later. I don't know. And then her hitting me up. And like when I shared the post, I said, that was a word, bro. And he said, thanks, Chan. And like put like a heart or something. I don't know. And she's like, why is he calling you Chan? And that's like personal. And I'm like, I have no idea. People call me that all the time. And what is the heart for? And I'm like, look, that was her ex-boyfriend, but I don't know what they were at the moment because we hadn't really talked for a while. And before we stopped really talking for that moment, they were not on great terms. But that's her boyfriend, ex-boyfriend. So to me, I'm gonna think of him only as like a brother. There's nothing else to think of him as. So that is, that was my only thoughts of that man. So I'm like, if I share his stuff, like, who cares? Like, there's nothing there. There's no feelings. There's nothing. This is just her people. Like, we all went to Vegas together. They were fighting the whole time. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if she thought that I would be interested in something like that. I don't know what she thought or why she was asking me these questions because when she was texting me that day, I called her 3 times and she didn't answer. And she said, this is already hard. And she's like, your life is the way it is because of you. And I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to comment on that because I don't see why you're telling me this right now. So to this day, I still don't know why she just didn't want to be friends anymore. Like she said, oh, that was some careless stuff that you did, posting what he said. And it'd be one thing if it happened before and she said something and I did it again, but we had never had a conversation about him whatsoever. And I think maybe also, I remember when me and him, because we had to coordinate his schedule with my flight to Atlanta. So before I bought my flight, I was trying to schedule with him to see when he could pick me up. But he ended up saying that he was going to be out of town. So I ended up renting a car. So I don't know what she thought. I sent her the messages. But the thing is we've never had an issue about a man. We're not even attracted to the same type of men. Like, never since college, never in 23 years have we ever had an issue about a man. I let it go. If this is what you want, fine. I didn't block her on anything, but I stopped following her on all of social media. I stopped her from following me. I stopped her from following my daughter. I just cut all that off because to me, you can't even talk to me on the phone. You can't even have a conversation to me after 23 years of a friendship. I was like, okay. I told her, this is on you. You want to make this choice? It's fine. It is what it is. But it made me think like, man, like, I never thought that. I thought we would be friends forever. Like, I thought we were going to grow old together and be friends. I never thought in a million years that we would stop being friends. And maybe it was my distance. I'm not sure because she never told me. And, I don't know. I don't know what it was. I'm assuming that's what it was. I didn't communicate with her. I hope it wasn't about some guy that I never ever spoke to, really, unless it had something to do with her. So, it's the weirdest thing. But for the most part, that is my experience with best friends. I mean, I have close friends now. Like, I have a really close girlfriend. But I just don't call anyone a best friend because I just don't believe in it. It's just, to me, that holds this high, high weight that is maybe just unnecessary. So now, whenever someone talks about a best friend, I just think, whatever. But anyway, I wanted to go over some things about friends that I got that I saw like online. And I thought it was interesting. So if anyone's having issues with friends, or maybe you're just having the best time with one of your friends, I just want to share some goods and some bads about friendships for women. First, having friends is good for your health. You talk about everything. Like, you're sad, you're depressed, you talk about it. You talk about the happy times, you meet people together, you go on experiences together. It's wonderful. People overcome illnesses better when they have friends and family and some type of, religious background. Just having people in your world just makes it warmer and happier and brighter. Hanging out with friends can make you look more attractive. Of course, nobody wants someone who's socially awkward, who can't talk to anyone ever. Like, even people who you would consider like quirky or weird, they still have quirky and weird friends like that they talk to, and they're just a group, So it's always nice to know that other people can have relationships with others. Animals have friends too. That's cute. But yeah, I mean, they run in packs, groups, all sorts of different things. So we are animals-ish. Your friend group size, which I thought was interesting, will stay the same throughout your life. It's likely that the average number of friends you have will stay the same throughout the majority of your life. So I guess when she left, that space will eventually be filled. Maybe it's filled now, I don't know. Right now I'm still in that weird season. So my focus is very internal at the moment because I just have to make sure that I'm okay before I can be okay for others. And I really appreciate the women who love me, and I love them very much. It's just a little rough out here sometimes. It says you'll make nearly 400 friends in your lifetime. I don't know if I believe in that. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't counted. Only a handful of them will last. If you are going through a lot of anxiety and need help, I have a program for you. Click the link below. I guess that makes sense because if you have a different job, like you have friends at your job you talk to and you kind of move on and you may not talk to them again. Like I worked at Ralph's when I was an intern, and the technicians and the pharmacists, I talked to them all the time then. We were friends, but now, I haven't talked to them in forever. 7, most friendships don't last very long. People form many friendships during their life, but generally only 1 out of 12 friendships are close that they last a lifetime. 1 out of 12. So out of 400, that's kind of a lot. I don't know about that, but I do agree that most friendships don't last very long, and that's okay. When it comes to friends, quality over quantity is more important. We know that. Work friends are very important. Man, work friends are definitely those friends that don't last long. They probably only last while you're at the job. Sometimes you take them with you, but they are so phenomenal while you're working at a job, especially if you need to vent or you're going through things or you spend so much time at work. So work friends, the best. Love can cost you friendships. We all have neglected our friends when we have, fell in love a little bit. So I can see that. And that was one thing that happened when I, backed up from talking to my friend is I was not dating or anything like that. I was dating myself. That's what I was doing. The strongest friendships are formed from ages of 18 to 26. That makes sense. You don't have kids, you don't have like a long-term job, you tend to be out a lot. It just makes sense. Women value friendships based on emotional connections. So when I read this, it made me, really think about the friendship that I had and what happened. So, this is the friendship dynamic between males and females is different. The friendships that women have usually come with intimacy and emotional connections. They like to share personal details of their life with their friends. They also need regular contact with some of them to consider them true friends. If a long period of time has passed without speaking to someone, they are more likely to assume that they've grown apart and the friendship is over. Now, I have girlfriends that I've known a long time that we don't talk really that often, but when we do talk, it's like everything's the same. Like I just spoke to one of them a couple weeks ago and I was really in a dark place and she really helped me out of it. But I really hadn't talked to her in a couple of years, and our friendship was always kind of like that. So I don't know. It's hard to say. Maybe I'm just not one of those friends. But men value friendships that are activity based. They like doing things together, bromancing. We all have known and see that, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. It's hard to make friends when you're an adult, right? We're busy. Makes sense. Your close friends can influence your eating habits and workout habits usually. Even though, some of my friends work out, some of them don't. But I've always worked out. That's always been a thing for me. That started when I was really young. But I've always had significant others who worked out. And I've always had long relationships. So I can see that. Because I need a man who wants to work out. Like, I don't even want to date a guy who doesn't work out. Like, I just don't see the point. Trusted friendships are on the decline. A study found that the average number of friends that Americans have has fallen by a third in the past 20 years. I think with social media and everything, people tend to be right there with us, so I don't think we reach out to them as much because you still see their life and you still feel connected to them. So even if you don't reach out, you still feel like, yeah, they're there, I think, to me. I don't know. Friendships make you more empathetic. Duh. Friendships are still relationships. We still have to work through them. There is a limit to the number of friends you can have, supposedly. Something called the Dunbar's number. I'm not even going to read that because I don't care. But if you want to look that up, it's called the Dunbar's number. And it's based on a part of the brain. It says, people can only maintain a max of 150 casual relationships. That's a lot. It's a lot of relationships. Babies recognize friendships before they can even talk. Oh, babies. Babies are able to observe strangers interacting and then make inferences on whether the two people are friends. That's super cute. How the heck you know something like that or can even measure that? Crazy, but whatever. There's a scientific difference between friends and acquaintances. A close friend involves an ongoing bond of sacrifice and shared moments. Also, a true friend holds your happiness in high regard, and you miss each other when you go for long periods of time without seeing each other. This is interesting. Every 7 years, you'll lose half of your friends. Every 7 years. I feel like we'd all end up at 0. It says, if your friendship lasts for more than 7 years, it's likely will continue for life. That didn't happen with me, I guess. It's debatable whether men and women can actually be friends. Whew, that's a topic for a whole nother time. Because I don't know. I don't know if I believe that at all. I tried to have male friends, and then sometimes I would just end up getting too many sexual conversations that would come up randomly with them, and it made me feel uncomfortable. That's happened many times. I recently lost one of my male friends. We had been friends for like a decade because I was drunk. And I was single. I was drunk. I remember I was at his house. We went to a football game with some other people. It wasn't just like the two of us. I left his house to meet with this guy that I had just met at, like, down the street, like, at a bar. We had some drinks. I hung out with him for just a little while. I ended up coming back to his house. He's like, oh, I made dinner, da da da. I ate. I fell asleep on his couch. And I woke up and he was like massaging my body and put his hand in my shirt. And I was like, whoa, I gotta go home. This is not it. I only lived a few minutes away. But yeah, I felt like, he was my friend. He was supposed to protect me and make sure I was okay. Like, put a blanket on top of me, not your hands. So, whatever. Friends help you stick to your goals. A great friend will really, really help motivate you and keep you going. They keep you sane. Friends make you feel fearless. Yes, especially when you do things together, you just feel like unstoppable, You mimic your friends. That makes sense. Friendship is a vital factor in romantic relationships. We all want to marry our best friend, right? Definitely. If you don't have friends, the risk of succumbing to cancer goes up. I can see that. I mean, everything else increases cancer. Why won't having less friends increase cancer also? It says it found that patients with early stage breast cancer who didn't have a social group may have a greater risk of dying from the disease than those without friendships, which goes back to a previous note that said we live longer if we have friendships. So, I think that goes for most diseases. Friends make you more productive. That's debatable. It depends on how many you have and how often you guys talk, because I've definitely been less productive sometimes on the weekends because I was hanging out with my friends. So, I don't know. The majority of childhood friends don't last until adulthood. I can see that. I'm not really friends with a lot of the people I was friends with as a child. But in the last maybe year, I've gotten closer with a few girls who I went to high school with, but not by much, but by a little bit, like where we text and stuff, and that's nice. But childhood friends are very important. The friendships you form in early childhood are very important, not only are these a crucial part of your emotional growth, but they also promote positive mental health at a young age. Though engaging with your young friends, you learned important social cues and how to interact with others. And also got my first heartbreak in 3rd grade with a dresser, but hey. Many adults find it hard to make new friends. And it says one of the main reasons cited for struggling to widen their social circle was introversion, or shyness. The same 45% who say it's a struggle to make new friends said that they would attempt to if they knew how to or had more opportunities. I mean, I consider myself an introvert. But I mean, I tend to make close friendships. I just don't know if I could say they last long. But I definitely think that it's harder for sure. Like, you just have so much going on. They have so much going on. I have another friend who we're still friends, but we used to talk a lot, and now we don't. She actually got engaged, and only really started hanging out with her family. But some things happened in her family that, I think made her like kind of pull away from a lot of her friendships and just focus on them, which is fine, which is understandable, And I feel like if she's ever ready to just like be close friends again, then it's fine. We can do that. Because I don't know what she's going through, and she's made it very clear that she needs some time to work on herself. To a lot of our group, we have a friend group, so it's fine. Most friends share a similar age. Yes, I mean, usually you meet friends of a similar age because you're just around people, when you're young and you go out, you see people who also go out, and they're usually about the same age. But intergenerational friendships make you smarter. Obviously, right? You learn from them. It widens your perspective. I have a few friends who are younger than me, who I love very dearly, and I just teach them everything that I've, grown to know in these hard 41 years of my life. It says there are 5 criteria for a good friendship. 1, it's voluntary. 2, affectionate. 3, personal. 4, on equal grounds. And 5, mutual. Most Americans have a best friend. I'm not most Americans, I guess. Nearly 6 in 10, 59% of Americans report having at least one person they consider their best friend. However, this number is lower than it once was. It used to be 75%. Now it's 59%. So I feel better. It says you may be a bad judge of your friends. Maybe that's what my friend... No, that's what I felt about my friend. You may have a poor perception of your own friendships. According to research from Tel Aviv University and MIT, only half of your friends consider you their own buddy. So I was thinking that we were really close, but maybe we weren't. I don't know. I feel like maybe she just didn't like me, and I just never knew. And I thought that since I loved her, she just automatically loved me back. But I guess not. And last, millennials are a very share-happy generation with their friends. Yes, we are. Instagram, Facebook, social media, all day. So anyway, this is my little talk on friends. I know it's kind of long. When it comes to the anxiety of it all, I think it's just to think about the fact that you don't know what's going to happen. A lot of anxiety is from the unknown, and you get into fights with your friends, and it's not like your significant other. You either know you're going to break up or you're going to keep going. Like, it's kind of more cut and dry. But when you have an altercation with a friend, you kind of don't know. Like, one of you guys are kind of on equal footing, but one of you has to move to the other. Like, if no one moves, then the friendship is over. Let alone if you're married to someone and you live together, it is what it is. You have kids together, it's different. So with that, when it comes to friends, if you feel anxiety, if you have anything that you don't know about them, or you're worried about your friendship, just ask. Just talk to them, just ask them. We all appreciate that. We all appreciate to be communicated with and to have communication with people who love us or we think love us. So that's all I got. I'm adding a link below to a calendar if anyone would like to talk about anxiety. I have some resources. I have some programs. Hit the calendar. We can have a meeting. Love to hear from you. Have a good day.